I had always believed that Beatrice and I shared a solid foundation. Our life together in the suburban enclave of Oakwood felt comfortable, predictable even. Yet, that very comfort began to feel stifling as I noticed subtle changes in her behavior. She seemed more distracted, her laughter echoing less in our cozy kitchen where we often spent Saturday mornings over pancakes and freshly brewed coffee. One evening, after a long day at work, I returned home to find her sprawled on the couch, a glass of red wine in hand, a smirk playing on her lips as she scrolled through her phone. She looked beautiful, her dark hair cascading over her shoulders, her eyes sparkling with a hint of mischief. "Hey, love," she said, tilting her glass slightly, as if to toast our ordinary evening. I felt a pang of desire mixed with an unsettling undercurrent of something else, something unspoken. "Long day?" I asked, trying to catch her gaze, but she was lost in the glow of her screen. I made my way to the kitchen, grabbing a beer from the fridge, hoping to draw her attention back to me. As I opened the bottle, the crisp sound broke through the silence, but she barely flinched. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, as if she were hiding a secret behind that teasing smile. As the days turned into weeks, the tension grew. Beatrice would often leave for work early, her excuse always revolving around deadlines and meetings. I'd watch her as she slipped into her tailored suits, a vision of confidence and allure. But it wasn't just her physical presence that captivated me, it was the energy she exuded, an energy that felt different, almost intoxicating. One Friday night, while I was scrolling through social media, I stumbled upon a photo of Beatrice at a happy hour event with her colleagues. She looked radiant, laughing freely with Mark, her colleague. The way they stood close, their bodies almost touching, stirred a feeling of jealousy deep within me. I couldn't help but replay the image in my mind, envisioning her laughter echoing in the air between them, the way she might have looked at him with that flirtatious glint in her eye. That weekend, the house felt oddly quiet. Beatrice was out again, this time with friends from work. I spent the afternoon cooking, the aroma of garlic and herbs filling the air, but it did little to distract me from the growing unease. I poured myself another drink, hoping to drown the discomfort. Yet, with each sip, I felt my resolve weakening. What if my imagination was running wild? What if I was simply paranoid? The truth began to creep in slowly, unraveling my doubts. I could almost hear whispers in the back of my mind. The next day, she returned home later than expected, a slight flush in her cheeks that had nothing to do with the summer heat. When she walked through the door, the smell of another man's cologne clung to her, intoxicating yet infuriating. "Did you have fun?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. "Yeah, it was nice," she replied, her gaze drifting away, as if avoiding the truth in my eyes. I stepped closer, wanting to reach out, to shake her from whatever spell had captivated her. You seem different lately." She turned to me, her expression shifting. There was a flicker of guilt, maybe even excitement. "What do you mean?" I hesitated, the words catching in my throat. The truth felt like a razor's edge, sharp and unforgiving. I wanted to confront her, to demand answers, but something deeper held me back. Instead, I pulled her closer, inhaling the scent of her hair, mixed with that lingering fragrance. It was both comforting and maddening. "Just promise me you'll always be honest," I said softly, feeling the weight of my unspoken fears. "Of course," she whispered, but her smile betrayed her. It was as if she were playing a dangerous game, and I was only just beginning to realize the rules. That night, as we lay in bed, I felt the distance between us like a chasm. I turned on my side, trying to ignore the turmoil swirling inside me. But as I glanced at her, sleeping peacefully, a sense of betrayal coiled tightly in my gut. I wondered about Mark, about the moments they shared behind closed doors. My mind painted vivid images of their late-night meetings, the stolen glances, the whispers of secrets exchanged in hushed tones. Each thought ignited a flame of desire and rage within me. I found myself torn between wanting to confront her and the insatiable curiosity that lingered. What would it feel like to embrace this dark reality? The idea of voyeurism sparked something within me, a yearning to witness her with him, to see the intimacy I feared she was sharing with another man. But the thought filled me with confusion and dread. As days turned into nights, I realized I was walking a fine line, teetering between jealousy and intrigue, desire and betrayal. The world around us spun, oblivious to the storm brewing within our lives. The weeks slipped by like grains of sand, each one more torturous than the last. I watched Beatrice become increasingly immersed in her work life, and with each passing day, my suspicions morphed into an unrelenting obsession. I began to notice subtle changes in her. The way she dressed, more fitted blouses that clung to her curves and skirts that hugged her hips, was no longer just for work. She was dressing to impress someone, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it was Mark. One afternoon, while I was working from home, I decided to sneak a peek at Beatrice's phone. A small, guilty thrill surged through me as I picked it up from the counter, my heart racing. I knew it was wrong, but the idea of finding something, anything, that would confirm my fears was intoxicating. As I thumbed through her messages, I found a thread with Mark. Their exchanges were light-hearted, peppered with emojis and inside jokes. But then I saw a message that made my blood run cold. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Just us." My breath hitched, and a wave of nausea washed over me. I had to confront her, but the thought of her reaction paralyzed me. Instead, I found myself spiraling deeper into this new reality, one where I was both the betrayed and the willing voyeur. It felt wrong, but there was a part of me that craved the chaos. Later that night, after a long day, I noticed Beatrice getting ready with a little too much enthusiasm. The soft sound of her hairdryer filled the air, and the scent of her perfume wafted into the hallway, an intoxicating mix of jasmine and vanilla. I tried to focus on my own work, but I could hear her humming to herself, a song I didn't recognize, and it struck me as too carefree, too blissful. "Where are you off to tonight?" I called, attempting to keep my tone casual. She poked her head out of the bathroom, her cheeks flushed, excitement dancing in her eyes. "Just dinner with some friends from work." "Mark?" I asked, my heart pounding as I said his name. Her smile faltered for just a moment, and I could see the gears turning in her head. "He might be there," she admitted, a hint of mischief in her voice. "But it's just a casual get-together." "Right," I replied, my stomach twisting. "Just a casual get-together." I watched her finish getting ready, the way she swiped a bold shade of red lipstick across her lips, the same color that I'd once loved to kiss. The sight of her, looking so effortlessly beautiful, made my heart race with conflicting emotions, longing and betrayal intertwined. As she slipped on her heels and grabbed her purse, I felt a surge of daring. "You look amazing," I said, forcing a smile. "Have fun." "Thanks, Jasper," she replied, her tone bright. She leaned down, planting a quick kiss on my cheek before walking out the door, her heels clicking against the floor. I was left standing there, feeling utterly hollow. Once she was gone, I could no longer contain the urge that had been simmering inside me. My phone buzzed with a notification from a messaging app. It was Jake, my best friend, asking if I wanted to grab a drink. It was just the distraction I needed. I grabbed my keys and headed out, hoping to drown my sorrows in beer and camaraderie. At the bar, surrounded by laughter and the clinking of glasses, I found solace in the familiar chaos. Jake was animated, regaling me with stories about his latest real estate deals and single dad adventures. But even as I laughed and joined in the banter, my mind drifted back to Beatrice. I couldn't shake the image of her with Mark, the intimacy they might share, the laughter I was no longer a part of. As the night wore on, my resolve to avoid confrontation weakened. I excused myself to the restroom, where I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. I looked worn and tired, the dark circles under my eyes betraying my inner turmoil. I needed answers, but the thought of confronting Beatrice again filled me with dread. Just then, Jake walked in, leaning against the sink beside me. "You okay, man?" he asked, his brow furrowing in concern. "Yeah, just processing some stuff," I replied, forcing a smile. "You know, if you ever need to talk about anything, I'm here," he said, clapping me on the shoulder. There was a sincerity in his tone that made me feel grateful yet more isolated. I wanted to confide in him, to share my fears and insecurities, but I hesitated. When I returned home later that night, The house was dark and still. I made my way to the kitchen, the silence almost oppressive. I poured myself a glass of whiskey, hoping to numb the ache in my chest. As I stood there, staring out the window into the night, I couldn't shake the feeling that Beatrice was out there, living a life I was no longer part of. The thought was maddening. Hours later, I heard the front door creak open, and my heart raced. Beatrice walked in, a little unsteady on her feet, her cheeks flushed. "Hey, love," she said, her voice slightly slurred but still bright. "You're still up?" I turned to face her, trying to read her expression. "How was dinner?" "Fun! We had a great time," she said, her smile a bit too wide, as if she were trying to convince herself as much as me. I stepped closer, the whiskey swirling in my belly. "What time did you get back?" "Just a bit ago," she replied, swaying slightly. "You should have come with us. You would have loved it." I took a deep breath, deciding to probe a little further. "Did you see Mark?" She hesitated, her gaze flickering. "He was there, but it was just fun, Jasper. Nothing serious." I couldn't ignore the way her heart raced, her pulse quickening as I leaned in closer, searching for truth in her eyes. "Just fun, huh?" I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," she insisted, but her gaze dropped to the floor, avoiding mine. A surge of daring washed over me, and before I knew it, I pulled her toward me, capturing her lips with mine. The kiss was electric, igniting something primal within me. I could taste the remnants of wine and something deeper, something I hadn't tasted in a long time, desire. "Let's not pretend," I murmured against her lips, feeling the warmth of her body against mine. "If there's something more, just tell me." Beatrice's breath hitched, and for a moment, I thought she might confess. Instead, she melted against me, her arms wrapping around my neck as she deepened the kiss. My mind raced, torn between the intoxicating taste of her mouth and the reality of the betrayal that lingered like a specter between us. The kiss ignited something within me that I had long buried beneath the weight of my suspicions and doubts. Beatrice's body pressed against mine felt both familiar and foreign, a sweet reminder of what we once shared. I lost myself in the warmth of her embrace, the intoxicating scent of her perfume clouding my senses as I pulled her closer, deepening the connection we had almost lost. But even in the haze of desire, a nagging voice echoed in my mind. I could feel the unspoken truth hanging between us, thick as fog. As we pulled apart, her eyes glimmered with a mix of longing and something else, fear perhaps. I searched her gaze for answers, but all I found was a reflection of my own confusion. "Jasper," she breathed, her voice barely above a whisper, her breath warm against my skin. "I didn't mean to make you worry. You know how work can get." "Work?" I echoed, frustration seeping into my tone. "Is that all this is? Just work?" She opened her mouth to respond, but I captured her lips again, silencing her with a kiss that was as desperate as it was passionate. This time, it felt different. There was a raw hunger in our movements, as if we were both trying to reclaim a part of our relationship that had slipped away. My hands found their way to her waist, gripping her tightly, feeling the softness of her body under my fingers. "Jasper, please," she gasped between kisses, her hands tangling in my hair, drawing me closer. I need time to figure things out." "Time?" I echoed, pulling back slightly to look into her eyes. "While you're out with him?" The accusation hung in the air, heavy and charged. Her expression faltered, a flicker of guilt crossing her face, but it was quickly replaced by defiance. "It's not like that," she retorted, her voice rising slightly. "You don't understand what it's like at work." Her frustration sparked something in me. "Then help me understand," I said, my voice low, almost pleading. "What's going on with you and Mark? I can't keep pretending that everything is fine." Her silence spoke volumes, and I felt the distance growing again, a chasm I was desperate to bridge. Instead of pulling away, I pressed forward, my lips finding the sensitive skin along her jaw, trailing kisses down her neck. The sweet sound of her breath hitching in response fueled my desire, each soft gasp igniting the flame of passion that threatened to consume us both. Jasper, she murmured, her hands gripping my shoulders tightly. We shouldn't. Shouldn't what? I breathed against her skin, my heart racing. Shouldn't feel this? Shouldn't desire each other? Her body responded instinctively, arching into me, her hips pressing against mine. The tension between us crackled like electricity, and I felt the heat rising within me, a hunger I hadn't felt in what seemed like ages. I knew I was treading on dangerous ground, but the thrill of the moment overshadowed the looming shadows of betrayal. As I explored the delicate curves of her body, I felt her surrender to the heat of the moment. Her hands traveled down my back, nails digging into my skin, drawing me closer. Every kiss ignited memories of the passion we once had, the way we would lose ourselves in each other after long days, seeking solace in our bodies. Let's forget everything, I murmured against her ear, my voice hoarse with longing. Just for tonight. Let's not think about Mark or anything else. She paused for a moment, her breath warm against my cheek. I don't know if I can, she admitted, but the way her body pressed against mine spoke volumes. The line between right and wrong blurred as the tension thickened, enveloping us in a cocoon of desire. With a sudden burst of courage, I lifted her off the ground, cradling her against me as I carried her toward our bedroom. Her laughter, a mixture of surprise and delight, filled the air, cutting through the weight of our earlier conversation. I kicked the door closed behind us, the soft click echoing like a promise. In the dim light, I set her down gently on the bed, our eyes locking as the moment hung heavy with unspoken words. I leaned over her, capturing her lips once more, pouring every ounce of my frustration and longing into that kiss. She responded eagerly, her body arching beneath me, as if urging me to take control, to claim what was rightfully ours. The world outside faded away, and for that brief moment, it was just us, the remnants of our love intertwined with the chaotic dance of desire. I traced my fingers down her arms, feeling the soft skin beneath my touch, each brush igniting a spark that sent shivers down her spine. I breathed, my voice thick with emotion. I've missed this us. Me too, she replied, her voice trembling, eyes shimmering with unshed tears. But I'm scared, Jasper. Scared of what this means. Let's not think about that right now, I whispered, trailing kisses along her collarbone, igniting a fire within her that mirrored my own. The way she reacted to my touch only fueled my desire further, drawing me deeper into the passion we had nearly lost. As the night unfolded, we surrendered to the heat of our bodies, losing ourselves in the rhythm of our desires. With each kiss, I felt the barriers between us begin to crumble, replaced by the intoxicating heat of our longing. I tried to push aside the gnawing doubts, focusing instead on the warmth of her skin beneath my fingertips, and the soft sighs escaping her lips. But even as we embraced the moment, the shadows of betrayal lingered, waiting just beyond the light of our connection. Each stolen glance, each whispered word, brought the specter of Mark closer. Yet for now, as I lost myself in the depths of Beatrice's gaze, I chose to ignore it all, craving the taste of passion that felt like a lifeline in the chaos of my heart. The night unfolded like a vivid dream, every kiss igniting sparks that crackled through my veins. Beatrice's hands roamed my body, exploring every inch as if she were rediscovering a familiar landscape. Each caress felt like a promise, a tantalizing reminder of the intimacy we had once shared, and I reveled in the warmth of her skin beneath my fingertips. With every moment, the urgency grew, an electric tension pulsing between us. I traced my fingers along the curve of her waist, feeling her breath hitch in response. She looked up at me, eyes wide with desire, and I felt my heart race at the sight of her vulnerability. In that instant, the world outside faded into oblivion. It was just the two of us, lost in a whirlwind of passion. Jasper, she whispered, her voice a sultry murmur that sent shivers down my spine. What if someone finds out? Let them, I replied, a daring thrill coursing through me. Right now, it's just you and me. No one else matters. As I spoke, I kissed her again, my lips trailing down her neck, savoring the taste of her skin. I could feel the warmth radiating from her body, and every soft sigh that escaped her lips fueled my desire further. I wanted to strip away the barriers, to claim her wholly as my own. In a moment of boldness, I shifted my weight, pushing her gently back onto the bed. The way she melted into the sheets, her body arching in surrender, ignited a primal urge within me. I hovered above her, savoring the sight of her flushed cheeks, the way her hair spilled across the pillow like dark silk. "Tell me what you want," I murmured, my breath warm against her ear, watching as her eyes sparkled with mischief and longing. "I want you," she replied, her voice low and sultry, filled with a hunger that mirrored my own. "I want you to remind me what we have." With those words, the dam of restraint broke. I captured her lips with mine, kissing her deeply, pouring all of my frustration and yearning into that single moment. My hands explored the softness of her body, trailing down her sides, feeling her shiver under my touch. The taste of her mouth was intoxicating, and I could feel her body responding eagerly to my every movement. As I began to trail kisses down her neck and across her collarbone, she let out a soft moan, a sound that ignited a fire within me. I took my time, savoring every inch of her skin, relishing the way she responded to my touch. My lips traveled lower, exploring the delicate curves of her body, igniting a desire that felt insatiable. "Jasper," she breathed, her voice trembling with anticipation, urging me on. I could see the need in her eyes, a reflection of the craving that pulsed between us. "Just relax," I whispered, my hands caressing her thighs, feeling her body respond to my every touch. The world outside vanished, leaving only the two of us entangled in this dance of passion. I took my time, exploring every contour, every delicate line of her body. The way she arched into me, desperate for more, fueled my desire to push boundaries. I lost myself in the moment, allowing the heat of our connection to guide me. I could feel her heart racing beneath my fingertips, matching the frantic rhythm of my own. With a gentle yet insistent touch, I urged her to open up to me, and she responded with a soft sigh, her body yielding to my caresses. The chemistry between us was palpable, a magnetic force drawing us closer together. As our bodies intertwined, I felt a sense of euphoria, as if we were shedding the weight of our worries and fears. "Jasper, please," she whispered, her voice thick with desire, as I kissed a trail along her inner thigh. The taste of her skin was intoxicating, and I could feel her pulse quicken with each movement. My desire for her only grew stronger, fueled by the knowledge that this moment was both everything I craved and a dangerous dance with betrayal. Every kiss, every touch, was laced with urgency, a desperate need to reclaim what we had almost lost. The room was filled with the soft sounds of our breaths, mingling together, creating an intimate symphony that echoed our passion. As I pressed my body against hers, the warmth enveloped us, igniting the very core of our connection. With each passing moment, I felt the boundaries blur, the lines of right and wrong dissolving in the heat of our desire. The world outside faded completely, leaving only the intoxicating reality of our entangled bodies, two souls seeking solace in each other amidst the chaos. In this moment, we were both the lovers we once were and the strangers we had become, lost in a haze of passion and longing. I pulled back slightly, gazing into her eyes, searching for any trace of hesitation. Instead, I found nothing but longing reflected back at me. It was a silent invitation, a promise that we would explore this uncharted territory together, no matter where it led. "Let's make tonight unforgettable," I whispered, my heart racing as I kissed her again, plunging us both deeper into a world where only desire mattered. And as I lost myself in the depths of her embrace, I knew that whatever awaited us on the other side of this moment could wait just a little longer. For now, it was just the two of us, surrendering to the heat of our passion, ready to drown in the depths of desire. With each kiss, the boundaries of our reality began to blur, leaving only the heat of our desire in its wake. I relished the way Beatrice responded to my touch, her body arching against mine as if begging for more. The tension that had built between us transformed into a palpable energy, igniting every nerve ending, drawing us deeper into this world we had created together. As my lips traveled further down her body, I could feel the rapid beat of her heart echoing against my chest. I took my time, savoring each moment, each gasp of pleasure that escaped her lips. The way she sighed my name sent a thrill through me, fueling the fire that raged within. "Jasper," she breathed, her voice thick with need, as I kissed the trail along her stomach, my hands gently exploring her curves. The softness of her skin beneath my fingertips was intoxicating, and I wanted to memorize every inch of her. I wanted to be the one who could make her forget everything else. "Let go," I urged, my voice a husky whisper against her skin. "Just feel." Her response was a shuddering breath, a silent acknowledgement that she was surrendering to the moment, letting the worries of the outside world fade into oblivion. I could feel her body relax beneath me, and it was as if a switch had flipped. The tension that had held us captive for so long began to dissipate, replaced by an intoxicating sense of freedom. I traced my lips back up her body, finding her gaze, and the connection between us intensified. There was something raw and beautiful in the vulnerability she offered, a silent promise that we were embarking on a journey together, one that would push the boundaries of our love and challenge our loyalty. With newfound determination, I shifted our positions, rolling us over until Beatrice was on top of me. The power dynamic shifted, and I could see the spark of mischief in her eyes as she leaned down, brushing her lips against my ear. "What do you want me to do?" she asked, her voice a sultry invitation that sent a wave of desire crashing through me. "Everything," I replied, my hands gripping her hips, guiding her movements as she began to explore the contours of my body. She pressed her weight against me, her curves fitting perfectly against my own, and I could feel the heat radiating between us. As she began to move, I watched her closely, mesmerized by the way she carried herself, the confidence radiating from her as she surrendered to the moment. The room filled with the soft sounds of our bodies meeting, a symphony of pleasure that echoed our unspoken desires. "Jasper," she moaned, her voice a low, sultry purr, and I felt my body respond to her every word. The way she moved, slow, deliberate, teasing, drove me wild, igniting a hunger that felt insatiable. Each movement was a declaration, a reminder that we were still connected, still a part of each other, even amid the chaos that threatened to pull us apart. I reached up, tangling my fingers in her hair, pulling her down for another kiss. This time, it was deeper, more urgent, as if we were trying to erase the doubts that lingered in the back of our minds. Her body pressed against mine, and I could feel the warmth radiating from her, a reminder of the heat that had drawn us together. The rhythm we found was intoxicating, a dance of give and take, pleasure and vulnerability. I felt every gasp, every sigh, resonating within me, urging me to explore further. My hands roamed her body, tracing the curves of her hips, the soft swell of her breasts, igniting a fire that threatened to consume us both. "Jasper," she breathed, her voice a mix of desperation and longing, and I could feel her body begin to tremble against mine. The heat between us was palpable, a force that pulled us deeper into the moment, blurring the lines of right and wrong. "Just let go," I urged again, my voice thick with desire. "Let's forget everything else." With that, she surrendered completely, her movements becoming more frantic, more desperate as she lost herself in the rhythm we created together. Each gasp, each moan, drove me wild, igniting a primal need within me to hold her closer, to draw her deeper into this moment. As the night wore on, I felt the world outside slip away entirely. It was just us, tangled in sheets, lost in the heat of our bodies, exploring every inch of each other, as if we were trying to reclaim a love that had almost slipped through our fingers. Each kiss, each whispered word became a promise that we were still here, still connected, even as the shadows of betrayal loomed just beyond the light. And as I pulled her closer, feeling her warmth envelop me, I realized that this moment, this passion, was more than just a fleeting escape. It was a reminder of what we had built together, a spark that could ignite the embers of our love once more, if only we could navigate the darkness that threatened to consume us. In that fleeting moment, as we surrendered to desire, I knew I would fight to hold on to this connection, no matter the cost. As the night deepened, the world outside faded completely, leaving us cocooned in our private sanctuary of heat and desire. Each breath we took echoed in the stillness, our bodies moving in perfect harmony, an intimate dance that felt both exhilarating and dangerous. The boundaries of our relationship shifted with each touch, and I could feel the weight of our unspoken truths pressing down, threatening to shatter the fragile peace we had created. With every kiss, every soft gasp that escaped her lips, I felt a whirlwind of emotions swirl within me: longing, fear, passion, and uncertainty. Beatrice's body glistened in the dim light, and I took a moment to drink her in, reveling in the beauty of the woman who had captivated my heart. There was something undeniably raw and real about this moment, something that transcended the chaos of our lives outside these walls. "Jasper," she murmured, her voice a sultry whisper that sent shivers down my spine. I could see the flicker of vulnerability in her eyes, a depth that spoke of the confusion and desire that lay beneath the surface. "What happens now?" The question hung in the air, heavy with implications. I could feel my heart racing as I realized the magnitude of what we had done. In this moment of passion, we had crossed a line, stepping into a realm that felt both thrilling and terrifying. "We take it one step at a time," I replied, my voice steady despite the turmoil within. "We talk about this. We figure it out together." Her eyes searched mine, and for a brief moment, I could see the flicker of hope amid the chaos. The connection we had rekindled was undeniable, a flame that had been reignited in the wake of our turmoil. But the reality of our situation loomed large, a specter that threatened to overshadow the warmth of our passion. As the minutes turned into hours, we lay entwined in each other's arms, basking in the afterglow of our shared intimacy. The silence between us felt charged, alive with the weight of our unspoken fears and desires. It was both comforting and unsettling, a reminder of the path we had just navigated together. "I want to be honest with you," Beatrice said softly, her fingers tracing gentle patterns along my arm. "I don't want to lose you, Jasper. But I'm scared of what this all means." Her words resonated deep within me, echoing my own fears. I knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, that we would have to confront the reality of her affair and the impact it would have on our lives. But there was something in her voice, a sincerity that made me believe we could face it together. "We'll figure it out," I reassured her, pulling her closer, feeling her heartbeat sync with mine. "This doesn't have to define us. We can find our way back." As I spoke, I felt a surge of determination, a fierce resolve to reclaim what we had almost lost. I knew that the journey ahead wouldn't be easy, that it would require vulnerability, trust, and open communication. But in that moment, as we lay entwined, I believed in the possibility of healing, of rebuilding our connection. Beatrice looked up at me, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, and I brushed my thumb gently across her cheek, feeling the warmth of her skin beneath my touch. "I love you, Jasper," she whispered, and those 3 words felt like a lifeline, anchoring us both amidst the uncertainty. "I love you too," I replied, my voice thick with emotion. "We'll get through this together." As dawn began to break, casting a soft glow across the room, I felt a sense of hope blossoming within me. We were still here, still fighting for each other, and that was enough for now. The shadows of betrayal would always linger, but in that moment, we were determined to forge a new path forward, one built on honesty, intimacy, and the unbreakable bond we shared. Together, we would face whatever challenges lay ahead, ready to embrace the complexities of our love. And as the first light of day crept into the room, illuminating the space we had created, I knew that our journey was far from over. It was merely the beginning of a new chapter, one that would test us but also allow us to grow and evolve together. And as I held Beatrice close, feeling the warmth of her body against mine, I realized that love, in all its messy, complicated glory, was worth fighting for. We would navigate the storms, face the shadows, and ultimately emerge stronger, together.